again, we talked last time, if he first moved there somewhere between the ages of 4 and 8, he's a little bit older now. Basically, that's kind of the background, the backstory of what goes on at Shiloh. There's, in addition to that, the fact that there's a whole adulterous ring of activities that are going along with those who are working there between the Hophni and Phinehas and the ladies that work at the entrance of the temple. I mean, there's just all sorts of things going on. So they're kind of roughing up people who bring in and stealing from them. It's creating a hostile environment. They're also just sinning left and right. All of that is what Samuel's been put into an environment. So what do you see about the proximity, physical proximity of Samuel to the location of Eli the high priest? It's close, yeah. I mean, the fact that his first thought when he hears a voice is, oh, that must be Eli. He must be just over in the next room. So there's a very close proximity to this older man who has now been kind of the mentor to him. And, this is where he has been placed. And again, this is a very high-ranking person. He is arguably the highest-ranking one at this time in all of Israel, because he is the high priest in a religious nation. There's really not anybody who would outrank him at this point. We're pre-king. That comes a little bit later when Samuel is the one who's told to appoint them a king. So again, we see that we're prior to that. This would have been the time of the judges was just ended. Eli might have even been of that nature, as a judge. So again, you see this very close physical proximity. So as a young boy, what do you think Samuel's view as the authority of Eli? Yeah, I think he sees his authoritative, because he hears it in the night. He goes straight to him. And his wording is very respectful of authority. I think you can kind of see the whole structure kind of shows itself there. Interestingly, because it's almost like Eli's running a tighter ship maybe with Samuel than ever did with his own kids. It's kind of just from some of the little things that you see popping out of that. Yeah.
I don't know the customs back then as far as what my question's going to be. Do you think it is unusual? Is this a rare occasion where a mother gives her child, like Hannah did with Samuel? Pledges her child to? Is that an unusual thing, or is this one of a million? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. I would say it's certainly rare of what's recorded, that part. But as far as whether or not it's normal, there are, there were always children who would have served in roles as they grew up. So I guess there were others that would have. There had to have been some reason why Hannah would have even thought to do that. So it must have been some form of practice that was done on certain occasions. The fact that she even thought, I will give him back to you and he'll live in the house of the Lord, why would that have been a thought in her head without it? We see some religions that still do that today, though. Yeah.
Hannah was barren, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
She prayed to have a
right.
child, and then she suggested that if you give me a child, I'd turn it over to you.
Yeah, and that's why I was, with that idea, where would that thought have come into her mind to do that without it also have been, kind of the answer to her question was maybe that was a practice that was done by some. And so she was, having been barren, thought, maybe this will be, a way to show God that I really mean it, and made that promise that it's not for me, it's for, the fact that I need to have this. And
Which led me to the thought, maybe that's one of the reasons you asked a little bit ago about why was Eli taking so much more interest in guarding this child than, maybe he's guarding him from his son.
And maybe so. I think at this point, too, we are going to see, so Eli gets a pretty bad rap out of all this. He himself isn't necessarily the one who does any of the things. He is displeased with it. What we see with his sons, and we'll see that throughout even this chapter, is his lack of control over them at all, and his lack of ability to even want to stop it. He wants to stop it, but he doesn't want to do what it would take to stop it. Maybe it's a better way to say it. And I think that's where Eli's shortcomings really are focused in on. It's less about that he himself is ever listed of doing any of these horrible things that his sons were doing. But he knows they're happening and allowed it and kind of enabled enough of that by keeping them in a position where they would have that authority of their own to exercise these things. And so maybe he's better in these other situations. And maybe in this particular case, if there are ones, I mean, the fact that they have a place for Samuel there, maybe they have, kind of a setup for this, in those locations. That's one of those good questions that I don't know that we'll come up to an exact answer to. I mean, we can kind of speculate and infer here and there, but we do see that Samuel isn't being mistreated. I don't think we see anything. We never see any, Hannah comes up and cares for him periodically, and there's never any outcry against anything bad. He seems to be resting nicely at night, and when he hears him call, there's not a fear thing. He runs to him, and yes, my Lord. I mean, from the optics of it, it seems like he's in a good situation, at least. All right, so let's go on. Yeah, go ahead.
We've often talked about how rotten his kids were and what that means for us. But back to your earlier point, in 2:25, it states, his sons, however, did not listen to their father's rebuke, for it was the Lord's will to put them to death. What's your take on that?
Well, again, that was, when we looked a little bit at that last time, it was, I think that was their hearts were hardened because they had crossed a line so much that Eli, when he finally decided to intervene and say, okay, everybody in Israel knows the kind of, absolute garbage you're bringing into